Hi, everyone. So, at this point, you should have read a little bit about setting goals, and you should have also learned about long term and short term goals and completed your Google form about setting each of those. So, now we're going to talk about the road it takes to get there. We're going to call it the breakdown to achieving your goals, the road to goal achievement. Financial goals are essential in creating a financial plan, so we need to determine the steps it takes to get there. Goals help people visualize where they want to be in the future and identify those steps. A financial plan serves as a roadmap in guiding a person through their financial life. It includes a budget, savings plan, retirement plan, and goals. You may not think so because you're only in eighth grade, but it's actually never too early to start thinking of some of these things. Even like a retirement plan, it's never too early. You can actually start right now. Financial behavior is influenced by our society, culture, financial resources, peer pressure, scarcity, wants, and needs, which you're going to learn about next. Advertising, marketing, and the media can also greatly influence our financial behavior. Have you ever noticed that the milk is in the back of the store, so shoppers have to browse the other aisles to get to it? Have you ever noticed that the bread and the milk are miles away from each other? Have you noticed that parents of small children have to stand at the checkout line surrounded by candy and toys? These are all strategies to influence your financial behavior. So, the road to goal achievement. Various issues affect the financial planning process. For example, your values influence your needs and your goals. So, what are values? Values are personal qualities like honesty, relationships such as friends, and or material things like brand name clothing that are very important to people. An indication of what people value is the things that they spend their money on. People generally do not waste scarce personal resources like money on things that they perceive of little value. If I, for example, value appearance, I'm more likely to spend a greater portion of my disposable income on brand name clothing. If you do not value appearance, then you are less likely to spend a greater portion of your income on that. Values are things that people consider dear and important to them. They exert a powerful influence on people's lives. Example of values are honesty and integrity, social status, power, achievement, and security that you can see in this list here, and you can always refer back to it for samples. Values affect your career decisions, how you spend your time, and how you handle your money. A value is a force within people that strongly directs their life. As you can see, these things are major life choices, and your values have a large hand in choosing them. Each person places his or her own worth on those values, such as family, job success, love, health, comfort, friendship, skills, and education. Let's run through an example. Honesty. So if you're someone who values honesty, some possible career choices for you are maybe law enforcement, an attorney, a social worker, and a judge. Honesty is a key value in all of those professions. How you spend your time. Well, you may spend your time volunteering or helping others. Those are also time choices that exemplify honesty. And then how you handle your money. Well, if you value honesty, you're probably most likely to save your money, donate a portion of your money, and spend your time raising money for a good cause. Now let's talk about an example stemming from values. Setting financial goals is a lot like planning a vacation with an online travel planning website such as Expedia or MapQuest. Financial goals provide a destination for future, which can be used to develop an itinerary. Goals provide a framework for investment decisions and help you narrow down your choices. For example, if you want a short-term goal, like buying a new computer in a year, you'll want to keep money in a bank so there is no loss of principal. You wouldn't want to invest short-term money in the stock market where you have a greater risk of volatility and losing it in a short time frame. A financial goal that everyone should establish, especially in light of the pandemic, is an emergency fund. So that's what we're going to talk about as our example goal. This is a savings set aside to specifically meet emergency bills or unanticipated bills, to cover monthly living expenses if your paycheck stops. So during the pandemic, a lot of people had to go on unemployment. And if they needed a new roof on their house, they had to buy a new car. Those are all things that an emergency fund would come in handy for. Too often, people use credit cards or borrow money from family members in an emergency if they don't have a savings account to fall back on when unexpected things happen. So this is, if you were to build out an emergency fund, a good idea, and this is just an idea, would be to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses or whatever amount gives you peace of mind. So that's different for each person. If you are more likely to have your family to fall back on, you may not need as much. But if you're living on your own, and you have nowhere to go if you lose your job and you can't pay your rent, then you would want to save for a greater period of time and put that money into an emergency fund. Discipline yourself to use emergency fund for only real emergencies. So things like needing a new phone, that's not a real emergency. But like I said, if your roof falls in, now that's an emergency. If you need to get to your job and you don't have access to public transportation and your car breaks down, that is something that you would spend an emergency fund on. So words to remember, these are key words within this unit. A goal, which is something that someone wants to achieve at a future date. A value system, which is a set of personal principles and preferences that guide a person's behavior. Values, which are deeply held feelings by people about people, activities, and things that are important in their life, just like we talked about honesty. How people spend their time and spend their money reflects their values. So like we talked about career choices, if you value honesty, law enforcement, attorney, social worker, and those examples, you can always refer back to that. And a values clarification, which is the process of using various activities to learn more about your personal values. We're actually going to do one of those where you're going to find out what your own values are. And the road to goal achievement again. Goals are specific plans or objectives that people have in life. Goals grow out of values. So we started with values, and now you can go back to your goals and have a better idea of how to reach those goals based on the foundation of your values. So one goal we should all have after the pandemic, we just went through it, emergency fund. And like I said, now you're going to determine your own goals and values. So refer back to this presentation and this video if you need a reminder on how you determine your values, sample values, and things like that. And then, of course, reach out to me if you have trouble finding them or you have any questions. There is on your playlist a list of sample values that you can pull from. I would love it if you were creative and came up with some of your own, but you can always use those as a starting point. Have fun.